once a dream is now alive, brimming with new energy, sailing to a new beat. 7 kilometers of blue, now bursting with fun, creating a splash, bringing new life to the community you call home. There is only one.
Hello everybody, how are you today? Good morning IBPC members, ladies and gentlemen. On behalf of IBPC, its chairman Mr. Suresh Kumarji and its executive committee, I welcome you all to this real estate webinar. My name is Dilip Khatwani and I am the convener for the real estate related services focus group within IBPC. As we know, real estate is a key driver to the UAE economy, and it also forms part of a socio-economic fabric within the country. You know, everywhere we go, whether it's a work meeting or a personal meeting, we have to discuss about real estate. Yeah, we all know that, and now more so with the pandemic challenges which have come through. There's a lot of discussion as to how the real estate market is changing within the economy. And that's where, you know, IBPC and the real estate group thought that we should get you this panel discussion as to what are the challenges which are going through and what are the opportunities which are coming through this pandemic for real estate. Yeah. So today we have an esteemed panel of speakers who are going to be discussing as to what's going on in the real estate market within UAE. Where is it a good time to buy? Is it a good time? Which is a good place, which community to buy in these times? You know, at one side, when we are having reduction in income and loss of jobs, on the other side, there's a demand for bigger and spacious houses. How do we understand this process? Okay, so a number of questions which we have during these challenging times, we thought we'll bring it up to the experts and get their view. So this is how we have planned and overviewed this program. We're getting 3 stakeholders within the real estate cycle, which is the buyer, the seller, and the consultant. Yeah. So we have 3 speakers. One will be representing the buyer, one will be representing the seller, and one will be representing the consultant. And we get their perspective as to how the pandemic is impacting the real estate and how we find opportunities and opportunities in these times. So the topic for discussion today is, has the pandemic triggered the need for bigger and spacious houses? Let me repeat the topic. Has the pandemic triggered the need for bigger and spacious houses? We'll share a research report done by CBRE, which is a global real estate consulting firm. And their report will share as to, they've done a residential real estate market report within the country, and they're going to share with you what are the outcomes of this report. And then we will go about having a panel discussion for almost about 35 minutes after the report. And then we will put on the questions to the audience if they have any. Yeah. Let me introduce you to our esteemed panel today. We have with us from MBR City, Ms. Ziba Gheshmi. She's the sales manager for MBAL for MBR City District 1. She will be representing the seller perspective, and she's going to tell us as to how the demand in houses have gone up and what are the specific needs of clients today. What are they specifically asking for while buying houses within District 1? Yeah. We also have, from an investor perspective, Mr. Mohammed Fakhir. He's the Chief Operating Officer for MBAL Investments, which is a 80-year-old family business group within UAE. They have been investing in the country for past 80 years. So it'd be great to get a perspective from an investor side as to where he sees the investment to happen in these times. And then, of course, we have the consulting view from Mr. Michael Heitmann, who's the head for consulting for Middle East and North Africa for CBRE. He also has 20 years experience of working in real estate consulting and financial consulting in North America, Europe, and of course the Middle East. So without further ado, I'll put you on to Michael Heitmann for a 10-minute presentation on his research report, and then we'll get the panel together to discuss on various elements of real estate and the report. Over to you, Michael. Thank you.
Thank you, Dilip. Excellent. Okay, well, thanks, Dilip, for the introduction. So my name is Michael Heitmann. I'm heading consulting services for CBRE in the region. So we, as CBRE, we publish frequent market reports and white papers on actual topics. And today I wanted to give a quick overview on the office and residential market outlook for Dubai, and then look into the impact that COVID-19 has on the housing landscape in the region. We can go to the first slide, please. So looking at the Dubai office market, we expect it to remain under pressure as businesses and employees continue to adopt flexible working arrangements while companies look to further reduce their operating costs. The impact of COVID, however, remains to be further as companies are looking to environments. There are several new health and safety regulations in place which are impacting the building operations, like for example, the use of lifts, meeting room facilities, kitchens, prayer rooms, etc. And occupiers are implementing these initiatives carefully for their employees. Landlords continue to offer incentives such as reduced lease rates and rent-free periods to maintain occupancy levels and retain the tenants. In the long term, working from home and related flexible work environments will remain the biggest trends while occupiers are adapting to constantly evolving market dynamics. Next slide, please. So moving on to the Dubai residential market, we believe that the real estate market is well positioned for a bounce back in 2021. Residential transaction decreased around 20% in the first half of this year compared to the same period last year, primarily due to the sudden slowdown in the economy and lockdown measures and travel restrictions due to COVID-19. So as an attempt to attract buyers and to increase the transaction activity, developers and landlords are offering a range of incentives, as for example, discounts on the land department fees, extended payment plans, and rent-free periods. Overall, market performance is expected to remain soft for the short to medium term, while the market sentiment recovers. So what kind of implication does COVID-19 have on the situation, on the housing landscape in the region? So we came up with a report on this topic, and there are four main trends that we are currently seeing or have seen. Next slide, please. So the first one is a growing preference for larger standalone residential units, the trend of end users migrating from apartments to villas in line with their affordability. So the stay at home and work from home measures that we have experienced over the last 6 months or so started shaping preferences and behaviors of people's home with a greater focus on privacy, health and comfort now within a post-COVID lifestyle. Moving forward, professionals are expected to continue a flexible work style, working from home, if not full-time, at least for 1 or a couple of days per week, which means they will spend more time in their actual homes. So people are upgrading their housing situation. And according to Property Finder, there was more than a 10% increase compared to the same period in 2019. Rents and sale prices have become more affordable, which encourages end users to upsize where possible and to accommodate to the new needs, which might be additional rooms for home office space, larger living room areas, and extra space for kids, fast access to the outdoors, private gardens, seating areas, and natural things like fresh air. Next slide, please. So the second change in home layouts is to support this is new and flexible lifestyle. There are several companies, such as Facebook, for example, who had announced that they are expecting that half of their employees would work from home permanently over the next 5 to 10 years. And Google, for example, provided an allowance to its employees to buy furniture and office supplies to work from home. The concept of working from home is not new, but for a lot of organizations, it was not on the top of their agenda, and companies have been still and are still reviewing the work from home policies to support this and more flexible work environment while ensuring a happy and productive workforce. So residents are expected to seek out housing options which offer extra space to set up home offices, play areas for children, and even home gyms. And we expect this extra space will be considered as must-haves amongst residents, and that developers will need to take into account special consideration for these additional space requirements. Architects globally are looking into cost-effective ways of incorporating flexible solutions such as partitions and movable walls to support the creation of separated areas for work, school, and play. CBRE owns a co-working space provider called HANA, and they had undertaken a survey in the US recently. And at the bottom, you can see what people responded the top benefits of remote working currently are, which includes saving money, dress how you like to, not having to commute, a better work-life balance, and more control over their individual work schedules. Next slide, please. Another point that COVID-19 is that may accelerate the growth of the smart home industry, and residential developers and private home builders are expected to incorporate more smart systems within new developments. This demand for smart application is expected to be driven by the need to reduce utility bills via smart and energy efficient technologies, the work from home trend to continue to drive demand for user-friendly and technology-equipped spaces to support work activities, the growing prevalence of smart surveillance systems, video doorbells, and voice assistants, and the popularity of on-demand streaming services, supporting the demand for smart entertainment. On the right, you can see an example of a smart home community development in Sharjah. Next slide, please. And then it's expected that end users are also becoming more energy conscious as they spend more time at home. So Dubai has launched various initiatives and regulations to further promote green energy. For example, developments must comply with minimum energy requirements. Dubai committed to generate 75% of the Emirates' energy from clean energy sources by 2050, and an initiative for real estate owners to install solar panels on their homes. On the right, you can see another case study on a net zero energy city in Dubai and the green offerings that the project provides, including solar-powered villas, greenhouses, solar car park, and electric charging station forecast. Next slide, please. So as a summary, the 4 trends discussed. First, the growing trend or the growing preference for larger housing product, providing more privacy and safety for end users. The change in home layouts to accommodate demand for extra and more versatile spaces. The increasing demand for efficient utilities and high levels of technology in line with work from home trends. And the growing need for efficient management and utilized to reduce expenses as people spend more time at home. Thank you. I think that's it from my side for now. And back over to you, Dilip.
Excellent, Michael. In brief, the way I see your report, principally what you're saying is that there'll be need for larger and spacious living spaces. Yeah, and those larger and living spaces will have to be, the layouts may have to be changed as per the changing needs due to COVID. Yeah. At the same time, the interesting part, which would be of interest to Mr. Fakhir as well, there'll be home gyms which will have to be made within the housing space.
Absolutely.
And thereby, of course, we need to have smarter homes so that while we spend so much of time at home to manage our houses as well as manage work from our houses. We need to make our homes more smarter to ensure that our overall operational expenses of houses is optimized. Yeah, excellent. So we'll now come on to some questions to the panel and take this discussion forward. Okay, my first question, of course, is Michael to you. That one of the key challenges, or let me put it in a different way. While we say that the overall income of people is coming down because of losses in jobs and businesses getting affected, that's one side. On the other side, you're saying that people are going to be looking for spacious and bigger houses. So how does one afford that process? How will they be able to afford bigger and spacious houses while your income is reducing? So, Michael, can I have your comments on this, please?
Yeah. Well, I think we have to look into this in two ways. One is obviously the economic impact that we have seen in the market and the slowdown due to the lockdown situations around the world. And, for example, deferred business investment decisions, which have led to reduced income levels and in some cases job losses. On the other hand, you have the related supply and demand dynamics in the market, which result in lower sales prices and also market rents. So residents can upgrade their housing situation and can get indeed bigger spaces for lower rents. So there's a shift to quality as well.
So you're basically saying that while the income would have reduced, but the rental as well as buying prices have also reduced, yeah, and thereby one is able to afford probably bigger spaces in the same community, yeah. That's really good. Excellent. All right. Let me get a developer perspective now. Ziba, from a developer's perspective, how are you seeing the change during these COVID times? Yeah, and if you tell us that what is the demand, what are the needs of your typical buyer pre-COVID and during this pandemic? Can we have? Yeah.
Sure. I just want to say hi to everybody, and I'm very glad to be part of this panel today discussing about these very interesting topics. We've definitely seen a huge increase in demand for spacious villas. I mean, post-pandemic, people have realized that when you are in a situation such as lockdown, you would need a space to have a workspace. You just don't need a house that can give you comfort and more durable to live in during a lockdown, but you're also looking for a house that is situated in a community which is full of greenery and you live close proximity to nature. I think that in District 1, we've always taken into consideration the sizes of our villas. The smallest villa that we have is 6,393 square feet, which makes it relatively one of the most spacious villas in Dubai. Putting the space and the size of the villas aside, which is definitely one of the biggest drives that investors come and visit our community, I just want to highlight some of the features that are these days a very huge criteria for investors when they are buying a luxury property. We in District 1 have 26 million square feet of greenery, open spaces and parks, which would cover 60% of our entire community. We have 8.4 kilometer cycling track and jogging track, and we have the largest crystal lagoon in the world in our community. So I think having these features in a community has made it very attractive for investors and buyers, and that is why post-pandemic, a lot of people are changing their lifestyle, having gone through a lockdown.
Ziba, do you also see, because these houses were designed earlier, right? Pre-COVID,
Yes.
Yeah.
That's right.
And now once the needs are changing of the investors, what are you doing at this stage to accommodate those needs along the process?
I mean, when we speak about the shift in the desire post the pandemic, there is definitely a new set of wish list that has been added when they buy a property. as you said, they're looking for a property that has an office or a study, and they're not just looking for a table and a chair at the corner of the house. They're looking for a proper office in the house that is sound insulated, that has comfortable furniture, that people can still be at the comfort of their home but can continue their work. Our layout in the villas, we all have the office and the study, a proper setup in our villas. Also, when we speak about the smart homes, I think that it's very important for me to mention that all our villas and mansions have the provision for a smart home, and a lot of our investors have installed that, and they don't necessarily have to touch the same button. They can have access to it through their phone and their tablets. So a lot of these needs that are coming up right now have already been introduced in our villas and in our properties. That is why we've seen such a huge hike when it comes to the transaction in District 1 in particular.
Excellent.
Yeah.
All right, so let's get a perspective from an investor. Yeah. So Fakhir, you saw the presentation and you heard the perspective of Ziba in terms of what the developers are doing to cater to the changing needs. As an investor, if you have to buy today, will you buy in a villa or an apartment?
Thank you, Dilip. And I have to thank Michael for sharing all those details. Those are very intriguing details which have come out. And it's always been there since this COVID happened. These things were at the back of everyone's mind, but now it's coming out more. If you take my perspective, I would definitely go for what Ziba has been saying and Michael's reports proves. I would go to the peripherals of Dubai, which are emerging fast, because Dubai has an amazing infrastructure. Now, if the concept of work from home is going to last, we don't know till how long, but at least people have bought into the idea of working from home. Definitely, you're looking for peripheral areas and you're looking for villas, not necessarily huge villas. I would say semi-detached villas with open spaces, and these days, the way villas are being designed, you can even accommodate pools and, barbecue area, exactly the things pointed out by Michael in his report. So from our perspective, we are looking at that kind of landscape emerging in terms of the housing market. Definitely villas on the peripheral, because you have an amazing infrastructure. Commuting is, if you have to commute, that's not a problem, given the road network of Dubai. So my long-term view would be, and as the reports are showing, I would bet on going for the villas.
Yeah, but are you saying that in case I have a budget to invest in an apartment and invest in a villa, you mean I would prefer to go to a peripheral villa rather than coming closer to a closer apartment within the city? Is that?
Oh, absolutely. If you compare dollar for dollar for an apartment and let's call it a semi-detached villa, given what we have been exposed to during the lockdown, it's all evolving from the lockdown. I would put my money in a villa, even if it's on the outskirts of Dubai. I would definitely, because people are looking for open spaces. That's what this COVID has taught us.
That would also mean, the real estate principles, Fakhir, you would know better than me, that, in every city, a CBD has a big value. CBD is the central business district of the city, right? And everybody wants to be closer to the value of property depends on how closer you are to CBD, yeah? Now, are we saying that because of this changing environment due to COVID, and if I'm operating from home, I would hardly have to come to CBD for work, right? And I don't mind, staying in a peripheral outskirts of the city villa and operating from there. So would that mean the whole concept of CBD would have a different definition?
It will evolve in a different way. But if you look at the West, you look at states in Canada, CBD has always been there. But yet at the same time, you have the so-called suburbs emerging. And why has that emerged? Because CBD gets too concentrated. People start looking for bigger open spaces. So I think it would go hand in hand. But right now, what you would see is quite a bit of activity happening in the peripherals. And yes, you will finally have the suburbs emerging in the way as well.
Let's hear it from Michael. Michael, what do you feel about where would you, if you had $1 million, where would you invest today in Dubai?
Yeah, no, I mean, your point on CBD, I think that is an important one, because this is how it has been traditionally and historically. And I mean, all of us are used to drive to work and come to work. And most companies, for example, let's say the big multinationals, they would always sit in a CBD. And this is what people have been doing. They have to commute to work. And since cities have been growing, some people have to commute longer ways and live in further places away from CBD. So with all this work from home kind of experience that a lot of people, including us, went through, this is changing. And the technology had been there, even for us. I mean, we as consultants, we work with our laptops and we fly from one city to the other, but we were not utilizing, let's say, these communication tools as efficiently as we were forced to do it, and as everybody adapted to in a very fast way. So the need to go to a specific location or an office might go down in the future, and you can literally work from wherever you have a good and fast internet connection. So from that perspective, you don't necessarily need to be as close to the city center. Now, if you look at Dubai, if you look at Mohammed bin Rashid city, for example, this is probably one of the closest communities that you can have related to downtown. And if you look at Dubai, not just as a short-term, but as a long-term projection, and the city will grow further and emerge further, this will be probably one of the closest communities that you can have to downtown. On the other hand, there's obviously a lot of other communities in the market, I mean, we mentioned the word community before. I think this is one of the key words, that people are looking to live in a community, in a well-established community with all the support amenities and strong accessibilities. And I mean, you have, for example, Dubai Hills, you have Dubai House, you have Dubai Land. I mean, there's a lot of established communities in the market. There's a lot of upcoming communities in the market. It really depends on what the price range is, because there's a wide variety of different products in the market.
No, it's an important point you make, Michael, and I was speaking to Fakhir also in the morning, that more. The community is going to become a very critical infrastructure. We are going to be saying that we are living in community rather than which locality we are living in, yeah? Because how well the community is managed, how well the community is built and designed, because there could be times where there could be decisions of isolating the community because of the pandemic, yeah? So how the communities are going to be designed and made, that would be a critical part. And we have a great combination from MBR city, where it is a community which is closer to the city, or is part of closer to CBD. So let's hear it from Ziba. Ziba, what do you feel in future? Why and how a community is going to be more important than anything else?
I'm just going to repeat the things that you guys have highlighted already. I think one of the key and the most important factors that people consider while buying a luxury property is location, and our project offers that. We're the closest villa community to downtown, and we still offer a resort living lifestyle in the community. As you've mentioned, one of the most important factors that people do visit District 1 is not just the location, it's the facilities and the amenities that we offer. We have 60% of the project dedicated to greenery, 8.4 kilometer cycling track and jogging track that can be really helpful at the time of lockdown to keep busy and active lifestyle. We have 14 kilometer of white sand beach in our community. So I think that definitely is not just a house anymore. It's the community that you live in, and that's been one of the key factors that has brought in a lot of people to District 1. I just want to go back on the transition from apartments to villas. I just want to highlight something there as well, that yes, there are people with bigger budget that they would want to move into villas. But in our project, we do cater to other family needs as well. If you have a smaller family that you want to live in a luxury apartment, our apartments, our residences, they're offering a more spacious product compared to the average apartments that you get offered in the market. Not only a spacious apartment, but also a waterfront property, a property that has a very spacious balcony. We've all learned during the pandemic and lockdown how important it is to have an outdoor space. So you don't necessarily have to live in a villa to get that, but also if you invest in a good apartment that is located in the heart of the city and still can use the same facilities and amenities that you would get in a villa in the same apartment, that can become a very attractive investment. Luckily for us, we are offering an all-round lifestyle in District 1. We have people who come into the project to look at villas, mansions, plots, and at the same time, we have a lot of investors who are coming in to take a look at these waterfront apartments.
Great. Let's hear it from Mr. Fakhir. Fakhir, what do you? I mean, there is a certain bracket who can invest in villas, but there's a lot of bracket which wants to invest in apartments. Yeah. If you have to invest in apartments, Mr. Fakhir, what would you see in an apartment which will make you see value in terms of return?
I'll take it up from where Ziba had left for in terms of apartments. Yes, you're right. Everyone has a budget. But that doesn't mean you have to compromise. And we have all learned from COVID. Definitely, you're looking at buildings which are smart buildings. The apartments cannot be the traditional apartments. You are talking about, you can't have 700 square feet of a one-bedroom apartment. That would not appeal to the end users. You will come up with terms like flexible space in apartments as well, where if you have a one bedroom, then you have to have a flexible space to modify it as a workspace or as a resting area, whatever you may call it. But you will see trends emerging as one bedroom plus flexible space, that kind of thing. And yes, balconies would definitely be a plus point. And as the report highlighted, you would have to have completely an integrated building as well. And the plus points would be if it's part of an overall community. If you tell me if I have to buy an apartment, I would look for all that. And the added feature would be if it's part of an unintegrated community. If I have access to other facilities of that community, yes, that's where I would go for. I think it will emerge as you won't be looking as standalone buildings. You would want to be part of a community for the reasons where Ziba has explained, that if given two building blocks, one is part of a community and one is a standalone, I would definitely go for something which is part of a community. It's a smart, intelligent building. I have access to facilities like a jogging track, huge balconies, green spaces. That's where I would put my money.
You made also an interesting point. You said that people are looking for studios with a balcony rather than just a studio. Is that?
I think any studio, anyone who's going for a studio now, the first thing they ask, do you have a balcony? That's the first thing, because you have to cater to every income group. And there is a substantial income group in Dubai and, for that matter, UAE, where you have young people moving in, looking for the startups and all that stuff, since Dubai is catering to innovation and, smart technology, and you have youngsters coming in. They might not have necessarily a budget for a 1-bedroom or a villa, so they probably would go for a studio. But if you're designing a studio, make sure you have natural light, as the report pointed out. People are looking for natural light, and people are looking for fresh air. Hence, you have to have a balcony added on to the studios now onwards.
Principally, what you're saying in apartments, we need to probably developers have to look at redesigning to cater to better, more open space, and have a flexible area where people could operate from home. I keep hearing from a lot of my colleagues. They say that Dilip, we are an apartment and we are connecting online, and suddenly my kid will come and tell me, "Dad, come here." so it kind of so there are those kind of needs which have to be catered to, so that within smaller apartments also we can cater to flexible spaces, as you said, where people could operate from home. Yeah.
I think the concept of flex space will emerge very strongly going forward in apartment blocks now.
The other question I wanted to speak to, get it from Michael, is that, Michael, do you see this? I mean, the other perspective is that COVID may be there for a year and a half, right? Post-COVID, won't we go back to the same, or the whole lifestyle will change? Yeah, Michael, let me have your view on this.
Well, I think, this pandemic certainly has the power and influence to have that change. I mean, as we can see, I mean, our offices has basically been closed since March, and we tried to go back, but still there's a lot of requirements like wearing a mask and not being able to use meeting room facilities and the kitchens and so on. So we haven't really, started utilizing the office space again. So I think in general that this whole work from home concept is something that is coming, and it is it's coming more and more, and hence the requirement for more flexible work spaces at home. One of the points that Fakhir was just mentioning, when the pandemic basically started back in, let's say, February or March, and people had just the information coming out of China at the time, and it wasn't clear if the virus, for example, can spread through ACs. And then I saw some kind of a documentary where it went in one building and the whole building got infected. People get scared with these kind of messages and news. And if you can't open a window, I mean, for me personally, this is not a unit that I would like living into. And I had my own experiences. I was living in various apartments throughout Dubai. I was living on the 46th floor once, and we had a fire breaking out in the health club. So I had to run down with 2 kids on my arms through the emergency staircase, and that's an experience that I only wanted to have once in my life. So I'm living in a townhouse at the moment, and I can open the doors and I can go in and out. And I think the important thing is to see what are people's needs, because in the past a lot of real estate had been built speculatively, more from the investor point of view. And I remember back in 2008, before the financial crisis, there were a lot of large and spacious units in the market. You would find typical 3-bedroom apartments with 2,000 to 3,000 square feet, for example. And then there came a time where people started looking more into efficiency, and does every bedroom, for example, need to have its own bathroom? And people and architects started looking into the efficiency of those things. And I think now is a good time for developers to take more of the end user requirements into consideration and just adopt to people needs. And the whole situation at the moment shows that there is a clear trend for people that they want privacy and safety and community, and you need to have that that extra space at home. And people have been, maybe not so much in Dubai, but in other parts of the world, people have been going a lot to, let's say, DIY stores, spending a lot of money because they could not travel, and they spent the money on upgrading their houses and put all the money into their houses to make their houses nicer and better.
But do you also see, suppose, for example, next 6 months we have the vaccine, yeah? And, let's fast forward this, we are in September 2021, and we've got the vaccine and we've got a solution. Do you still feel that the changes which we have made will sustain, or are we going to go back, or there's going to be something in the middle?
I think it will be a combination of both. I think we went from basically 100% working in the office to 100% working from home. So now technology has proven that it actually does work, which no one or not many people used before. So now it is working, and I think it will be a case-by-case decision of people that they might go to the office or work from home 1, 2, 3 days. They will find the right combination. And a similar thing with with the living requirements at home. People, I think they want to have more flexibility, and you need to provide for those spaces in houses as well.
Yeah. What do you think, Ziba? Do you think when the pandemic solution comes through, will people go back to the same original way of working and original houses, or there'll be something somewhere in between?
I think that definitely, will not go all the way back. I mean, now the new values and the new criteria for a property are good things to consider. As I've mentioned earlier, we've designed our villas way before the pandemic or way before the COVID-19 situation. And still we've had people who are attracted to an office space in the home. They are attracted to a greenery covered community, a community that offers not just a house, but a lifestyle. So that for sure, if you always upgrade, I think to me this is an upgrade in lifestyle. The moment you upgrade that lifestyle, you are not going to be happy when you go back. So a lot of things that are being offered in the market, such as our villas in District 1, is just going to add value to life, and I don't see a reason why would people not want that in life. We have our villas that are called Blue Views. These are 6+ bedrooms, and you can think of all the entertainment facility that you would want and you would need during a lockdown, such as barbecue space, such as an indoor gym or an air-conditioned gym. You can think about kids' play area, and all of these facilities are gathered in one property, being surrounded with the crystal lagoon and the greenery. Why would you pass that up? And it still be in the heart of the city.
Excellent. But then, the audience question is this. You see, finally, everybody wants to listen to an expert to give them an idea as to where to invest. Yeah. Suppose I have an option of investing $1 million dirham up to $1 million dirham, and then I have a second option of investing between $1 million to $4 million dirham, and then I have an option of investing from 4 million and above. Ziba, I know MDR is a great community, but tell me, if you were to invest, where will you invest to get better?
This is an easy question, but I don't want to sound like a typical salesperson. Honestly, location is the #1 factor. I know there are many great projects in Dubai, and it's the focus of the country under supervision of His Highness to create an amazing city. And there are great projects out there. But I don't think if you find anything as unique and as spectacular that would tick all the boxes that you would need in a property. When you speak about location, you speak about the amenities and facilities. I mean, there's a new set of desires that's been added to the list of investors. And think about it, we have already covered all of those without the pandemic. Without the situation that we are in today. So definitely, I think District 1 was thinking ahead of time, and I feel that my money would be safe with District 1.
All right.
Yes.
All right. Let's hear it from an investor perspective. Fakhir, where would you invest if you had these 3 brackets available with you, up to $1 million dirham, 1 to 4, and 4 and above?
Look, Dilip, for me, of course, as I said earlier, I would be looking for, I'm a green space person. Of course, location matters, but at the same time, I need to be surrounded by green space. I need to have the sunlight. I need to have the common areas. I need to have smart technology. And I need to have a feel for a community. Because what would emerge are these communities will become sub-cities in themselves, the accessibility to schools, the accessibility to healthcare. So those would be my, ticking boxes. The communities which offer me that, primarily being the green space and of course the layout of a villa. There are villas and there are villas and there are villas. But yes, the layout matters, the facilities in a community, and the most crucial thing we are forgetting is what we are doing to planet Earth as well. It has to be a sustainable. It has to be a sustainable city or a community or a building project or a housing project. That has to come at forefront now. At some point, people are realizing that yes, a lot of damage is being done to the planet. So we have to look at solar technology, waste management, water management. So those would be my things to look for in any project, be it a villa or be it an apartment complex within a community. I would be putting my money in such places.
Okay, let's hear it from the consultant. I'm sure he's going to be more specific and giving us kind of returns, maybe rental returns or rental yields on these three brackets of investment. Michael, let's hear it from you.
Yeah, I think especially as a consultant, it's difficult for me to answer that.
It's more easier for you.
We've done a lot of work in Dubai and have a lot of information. But I think the most important part here is, and I agree with Fakhir, I mean, it's the idea of the community and the amenities. And Fakhir had just mentioned a couple of important drivers for something like that. I think I would personally add the quality of those developments. I think there are some very well-established developers in Dubai that have proven that they can build state-of-the-art communities. And you see, there's about the occupancy levels at those communities. Now you have some newer developments coming up. And we talked about sustainability and green. I think these are very important factors moving forward. One of the things that I'm thinking about is, and this goes back to something you learn very early when you work in real estate, being asked what are the three most important factors. And the traditional answer had always been location, location, location. So now that might change a little bit, since it might, as we discussed before, it might not be that important anymore to be so close to the city center, because you might not be required to go to the city center for work every day. And this is why in some parts of the world you see that the surrounding, the suburbs are having a very steep price increase now, which is what has happened in the CBDs or in the central areas of cities so far. So now the suburbs are experiencing a similar increase in prices just because of the demand, and people not being required to spend 5 days per week commuting long distances and spending their time in traffic jams and so on, with the more flexibility of working from home. So that might actually shift a little bit in terms of the first requirement of location.
Okay, great. Okay, so we're getting some questions from the audience, and I'll go through it one by one, and the relevant person could answer me on this. One of the questions is from Mr. A.R. Ramachandran. The average rentals, as per a report, have gone down by about 10%, but the income has in many cases have gone down much higher. So there an imbalance out there in the affordability. Yeah, that's the question which we had earlier as well. Any comments, Fakhir, Ziba, on this? Yeah.
I mean, if I want to if I want to speak about our community, because I am working in District 1 and I can witness how the rental markets are going in District 1. Right now, we're out of 4-bedroom or 5-bedroom villas for rent. There's a big list of people who would want to live in our community. It was like this before pandemic, but now it's even increased. So I think District 1 probably one of the very few developments that the rentals have not gone down, but actually have increased. And obviously, it depends on the budget of the people and community to community.
Okay. Fakhir, any comments from you?
Yeah, Dilip, I would add on to that in terms of investment. You're looking at the all-time lowest possible interest rates. You're looking at payment options you have never heard of from the developers. You are looking for, the facilities being offered by the land department. And, everything is now tailor-made for a buyer. That's how I look at it. That's how the market is. Everything is going in the buyer's direction. I mean, the banks are offering rates which you have never heard of. Add on to where other things to those packages being offered by the banks. Similarly, as developers, you're getting 50-50, 30-70 post-pay handover payment plans. So this is the time to get in. This is the time to get in. You don't know how long that's going to last. Things do get saturated eventually. Sorry?
Which means you are buying, yeah, Fakhir?
Oh, of course, definitely. Definitely. I mean, why would you miss? Or we have always said that it's like the opportunities are there right now. You need to just take the next move.
Okay, excellent. The other question coming in from Mr. Suresh Kumar, you hear of price declines across certain residential sectors. How do these reflect in current offerings? So is it better to shop around or negotiate with one developer and property that you like? Interesting. So, Fakhir, would you want to take this? Is it better to shop around or negotiate with one developer?
By all means, go shop around. But at the end of the day, you have to look at the credibility of the developers as well. Fine, you might get a better deal with one developer, but please do the background check on a developer. And as the panel has suggested, there are very good developers in Dubai. So focus on them, talk to your bankers, and get going.
Great. There's another comment, interesting comment from Mr. Gurjeet Singh, who says, since COVID with WFH, there is a growing trend of the emergence of polycentric cities away from the CBD, becoming the choice of residence and work. This is also happening in Dubai and Abu Dhabi. As long as the price point is attractive and the polycentric locations are properly endorsed. So, I mean, like you were mentioning, that people are going to outskirts. If there are good communities available away from the city, people have interest in investing in there. He further mentions 3 criteria, which is health and safety and location. All right, interesting. We have another question from Mr. Naveen Sharma. I want to know what are the reasons of service charges not coming down in spite of the fact the real estate units have seen correction of 25 to 50%. It is really too high, regards. This is an interesting one. So although the prices have come down quite a bit, but this doesn't reflect a similar decline in service charges. Michael, would you want to take this?
Well, maybe it's just a bit. There might be a backlog to that. I mean, some of the costs will remain the same. Some of them might be more flexible and should come down. Maybe it's just a question of time that this will be amended.
Yeah, I may have a comment on this because I do, as part of my work, I do a lot of service charges evaluation and stuff like that. So I think the key thing to real estate prices go up and down as per supply and demand, yeah, and as per the economic elements within the country, within the global economy. Service charges is to do with keeping your asset value there in terms of making sure that your real estate value is not further going down. So if you further, I mean, I see there's been RERA has taken special initiatives to go about optimizing the service charge. But if you reduce it enormously, you're going to impact the overall management of your community, yeah, which will affect your, which will affect your asset value. So it's the answer would be that the expectation that the real estate prices have come down 25 to 50%, and the service charges should also come down 25 to 50%, may be risky, because if you get down the service charges 25-50%, you may impact the overall upkeep and asset value which you're bought into. Yeah, just a comment there. Question from Mr. Dilip Suna. Some new properties have not reduced the prices. Some new properties have not reduced the prices compared to secondary market. How to decide to get value for money? Some new properties have not reduced the prices compared to secondary market. How to decide how to get value for money? Fakhir, do you get this?
I think what he means is the fact that the developer still has the same pricing. However, if you look for that property in a secondary market, maybe people who need to offload or in need of money are discounting the property and selling it in the market. I think that's what this person is referring to.
Yeah.
As I said, it's an open market. You have the choice. You have the choice. Either go negotiate with the developer, or if you are in the secondary market, talk to the buyer or talk to the seller and negotiate. But what I'm seeing, and I think everyone is seeing, is that I think developers are being very flexible, absolutely flexible, and I think the word tailor-made package is out there by all the developers now, catering to the specific needs of the buyers or the investors. So, I mean, fine, you might get something from the secondary market, but it's worthwhile to go directly to the developer and check with them.
Okay, great. We just have 3 minutes to go before we close the session, so we could just take maybe 1 or 2 more questions. We have a question from James Matthew. The CBRE presentation says that H1 supply in 2020 is 630,000. Michael, what was H1?
I think it's not the H1 supply. I think it's the overall 630,000 would be the overall supply in the market currently.
Okay.
Not mistaken.
Yeah. So the further question says, I believe Dubai has the total number of residential units around 630,000.
Yes, correct.
It's not the new supply. I'm interested to know what is the number of units being introduced into the market in H1, H2, and 2021.
From the top of my head, it is around 35,000 units. I think 35,000 units, what we are expecting to enter the market in H2 of 2020. And similar numbers for 2021 and 2022. So that should be around 100,000 units, what we would expect on top of the 630,000 by end of 2022.
Yes. Okay. And the last question here is, do you buy a ready-made villa or a new development in the making? Let's hear it from Ziba. Ziba, are you there? I think she's switched off. Let's hear it from Fakhir. Do you buy a ready-made villa or a new development?
That's a tricky one. Depends. I think time is of essence when it comes to that. Yes, you can build from scratch if you have the luxury of time. Otherwise, if something nice and in an integrated community, self-sufficient community is available, ready to move in, why not? I would go there.
Yeah. So from your experience, even in these stages, there's no harm buying in communities which are under construction.
Oh yes, there's absolutely no harm. But again, I said you have to do the vetting of the developer. It's very, very crucial. that, who is the developer behind that community.
Okay, great, great. So I think we're almost at the close of our session. It's 12:30 sharp, and let me thank every one of you. Thank you so much, Fakhir, for being there on the panel and getting in your expert views and your experience to the market. And thank you for coming, Fakhir.
Thank you very much, Dilip, for inviting.
And let me thank Michael for such an amazing report, which gives us a perspective of what to do in these times in terms of real estate. CBRE, I know, has always come up with great reports in different regions. So thank you, Michael, for being part of this.
Well, thanks for having me today. And
okay.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, I think Ziba, some tech issue, she's not there. But Ziba, thank you for being there and making the discussion holistic, interesting. Let me thank IBPC to organize this panel discussion, and we'll see you soon. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, everybody, for joining.